That's it. Now, let's think carefully about protective factors. You see, general health is a protective factor, as are vitamin D3 levels. Now, in the UK, we know that we have and we talked about this months ago, that there's a highly unusual population mix here with lots of Afro-Caribbeans and Asians. And in terms of health disparity, unfortunately, and it's wrong, but it's a fact that elderly Asians are more unhealthy than the average population. There is no health disparity amongst young Asians. We also know that black Afro-Caribbean males are much fatter than the average white person. And therefore, obesity and comorbidity, which determine frailty, is part of the reason for deaths in these categories. If we look at places like Singapore, Japan, there is nothing to do with testing and lockdown or anything like that. These places simply are healthier. They have better vitamin D3 levels. Diet in a lot of people is better. They've actually done research studies on metabolic health, and they found that the healthier your metabolism, the more resistant to coronavirus you are.
Can I bring it back to sort of what I call my own reality check, if you like? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm realizing more and more in my humble existence that common sense, which is my famous sentence, is not so common. Clearly not in government anyway, for sure. And their understanding and...
I think they've quarantined it, haven't they? Because common sense can be quite infectious, so they've had to quarantine it.
No, unfortunately, common sense is not infectious. It's
actually, it's not.
You're born with it or you aren't. So
it should be, but it isn't.
Well, my point is really, really simple. If it's clear that common sense hasn't been applied in any way, shape, or form, what I mean by that is the general populace, people in Britain, the general Joe public, have a reasonable amount of common sense. And I find it difficult when somebody comes up to me, obviously up to 2 meters, God forbid, and wants to have a conversation and says, can you explain to me why a gym is open for business? So you can go to a, in brackets, sweaty gym, maybe not. I'm sure your gym is wonderful and lovely. Maybe they move the equipment around a bit, but you will be brushing very near some other human beings. Sorry for my sarcasm. Yet a bowling alley, I've got a friend of mine who's one of the accountants, management accountants for one of the biggest bowling chains in the UK, Hollywood Bowl, are all closed. And their lanes are definitely automatically socially distant, coronavirus compliant. Yet, at the same time, you've got people on Twitter, again, going back to giving their opinion, giving their feedback in this social media world, which clearly the government are not reading at all. They are posting, but not interested in feedback at all. And if they even took up 5% of that feedback, they would see a lot of people saying, explain to me why, on this great example with bowling alleys, a great example with restaurants and the hospitality business. There was a restaurant, actually, a topical report where this guy owns a bijou hotel in the Midlands, and he's got a roof terrace restaurant. And he said, why is it that I'm not allowed to put people up there socially distant, maybe with screens or the seating nicely apart, and I'm not allowed to actually have that running? I have to close the hotel.
They'll catch their death of cold, won't they?
But at least they can actually have that, and I'm going to give you an example of the Czech Republic, which you wouldn't believe, and this, again, a very topical, literally, I found this out last night. So he can't do that, but yet you can go inside a sweaty gym, you can go on a bus, you can go on a tube train, where you will be minimum 50 centimeters, maximum 50 centimeters away from somebody, maybe a meter. That's okay. So you won't get it there, but you might get it in these other. It doesn't make any sense. So what you're doing is you're taking away what's left of original thought and leaving it to society to understand the basic premise and definition of the virus, how you can contract it, what you should be doing, cleaning your hands, basic hygiene, being distant, not cuddling and kissing each other. We get it. Then let people carry on with their lives. You cannot decimate a population, a country, enterprise completely, or at 50%, where people are hand over fist losing their businesses to no fault of their own. Czech Republic is a great example. They've taken it a step further. The Prime Minister was on an address the other night, because a lot of my family is in the Czech Republic, and they have now decided recently that if you go to a supermarket, which is the only things open at the moment, everything else is closed.
Nonsense.
If you go to a supermarket, you can only have one person per 15 square meters. Now, I found this out last night. This is a Czech citizen telling me this last night.
How do they measure it? Do they have little sensors that they all put on your head as you walk in?
Well, what they do, really, is simple mathematics. So if you've got 1,000 square foot shop,
they average it out.
They average it out, and then they have a kind of similar to what the big BP petrol stations are doing. They've got a light, green, red light. So as many people go in, then they work out how many people go out. Okay. What they do is they measure on trolleys. So if you've got 10 trolleys going in, you need as many trolleys going out to then allow the difference in. So 5 go out, 5 go back in, and so on.
But you see, that's just it. But
hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. We are now in winter. We're approaching winter, end of autumn. It's cold now. So you've got people who shop during the week are old people.
They have to queue outside.
They're queuing outside in 0, 1, 2 degrees. They're getting colds which have similar symptoms. God forbid. We don't want to mention the word coronavirus again. It's been overused. Oh, God. Now I'm guilty of it. I've been brainwashed as well. And they're all queuing outside at 1.5 to 2 meter intervals. So a queue of 10 people becomes fivefold, because you have to add the distance between each trolley. So they're queuing all the way down the street amongst people, getting on with their lives, cars, pollution, getting cold, some of them becoming ill, going into the shop, giving it to other people that they didn't once have before they were queuing. And yet we are trying to protect society from this virus. We have honestly lost the plot.
And of course, the managers of some of these supermarket chains like Lidl will be thrilled to see queues of people thronging to get in, won't they?
Take pictures and put it on social media, say how
people
popular.
Once queued, indeed. And of course, it's all nonsense, isn't it? Because even, as you said, if they average it out, the fact is once you're in the store, people are still brushing shoulders again. So the point that I mentioned before is that where there is illogicality and inconsistency, and a psychological term for that is cognitive dissonance, it means that it's because it's wrong. Because if there is any shadow of a doubt, it's almost certainly wrong. Give you an example. If we said this before, if prowling around the neighbourhood there were 3 or 4 tigers, man-eating tigers, and the government said, they're bulletproof, we can't get them, and you've got to be careful, and everyone stay at home, I would contact some of my male neighbours. And when we got really, really hungry, I'd say, we've got to go to the supermarket. With nothing else for it, we've got to go, because the delivery vans have all been attacked and overturned by these enormous man-eating lions and tigers. I've got a spear, you've got a shield. I think you've got an axe. I think let's go, 5 of us with our spears and shields, and let's go and shop, and then we'll come back again, and we won't let our family out. There would be no question, would there? That's what we would do, and we would do it because we have to. And nobody would argue with that. But the fact is, where there is illogicality, it means there's no real threat. Let's be honest about it.
Do you know what I find? I mean, this is maybe a slightly random thought, but this is, as you were talking, it made me think of something else. There's quite a few industries, and I think I mentioned this in a couple of podcasts ago, there are quite a few industries that haven't evolved, that haven't kept up with the times, that are fading out. So bear with me, yeah? It's going to be a slightly different angle this time. So I can give you an example of the hospitality industry, different industries, the real estate industry, that haven't kept up with times. They've always done what they've always done. Now, governments of the world that are supposed to have all this data to hand, are supposed to have all this research data to hand, God bless you.
Thank you.
Supposed to have all this data to hand, can see things maybe, teetering off. Certain industries are not quite where they should be. And obviously industries provide tax, provide income. So that some governments in the world, not many, will say, okay, now we need to invest more in, in IT. We need to invest more in big data. We need to invest more in AI technology. Well, some are doing it and some are not doing it at all. So you're getting your country ready, and that links to apprenticeship apprenticeships that links to college courses, university courses, and so on. And you're getting people ready for industries and for jobs that are needed, not jobs that should just be there. You know, we're trying to protect jobs for the sake of protecting them. So governments haven't been able to do that over, I would say, the last 20 to 30 years. Yet a virus that we cannot see has... take it as a benefit of this virus, let's say a positive way of looking at things. This virus has accelerated, similar to the non-smoking ban 20 years ago, which I was nearly on the cusp of with my father's businesses in the West End of London, actually accelerated some industries into death, into finish them off, if you like, because they were already, let's say, out of fashion. So I'll give you a great example. I think I used this a couple of podcasts ago. Retail shops. Now look at Mr. Philip Green. Look at the Arcadia Group being another a recent topic. Now this has been on the cards for years. Debenhams trying to be bought out by Mr. Newcastle. I've forgotten his name. House of Fraser, JD Sports. I've forgotten his name.
Mike Ashley.
Correct. Thank you. The high street.
Another wholesome individual.
Oh, another wonderful individual who buys things for £6.50 and sells them for £11.50. Doesn't care what happens in between. But no, let's let him buy Debenhams and everything else and destroy it. But anyway, the point is, the high street is no longer relevant. Now, what I mean by that is, I'm not saying all the shops on the high street should disappear, but what's inside those shops should be thought through properly, should be relevant, should be what people want. That's why there's more coffee bars, not because they're just there because it's just a passing fashion. People enjoy coffee, so coffee bars are doing good business. But then you have some shops that are, I don't know, what do you call it, a cobblers or whatever, that's still there from 20 years ago, that are no longer relevant. They're not making any money. And people do not want to go to shopping centres because more and more people are buying things online. And what has the pandemic done? It's pushed people who've never even had broadband to get broadband, to go online, to start buying things online. And they go, ooh, I get things delivered. I'm getting more time. I've got more time to... Now, that's another conversation. To do what at the moment? Not much. But meaning you've got more time to socialise, more time for yourself.
Oh, more time to socialise.
Oh, sorry. I should have said that. Sorry, bad habit. I went into default setting.
But you know, it's only about 2 or 3 years ago that the government finally cottoned on about the importance of or the toxicity of loneliness, and appointed a minister of loneliness. Can you believe it? And it's only last year on the news that GP started prescribing socialisation groups to the elderly.
And let me look at another positive way of looking at this pandemic, which unfortunately I would say has brought things to the fore. I don't want to call it a benefit, that's the last thing I want to do, but let's look at it from a positive point of view. It's made the governments of the world look at mental health, which they've been, unfortunately, brushing under the carpet for many, many years because it's too complicated, it needs investment, it needs to be thought through properly, and they don't want to do that. It's too much effort for little gain. So they brushed under the carpet, and now with all these people at home on their own, in their flats on their own, homeschooling, not being able to get out for months on end, what has it done? What has it done with the suicide rates? What has it done with, forget with people losing their business and their income, but what has it done with society in general? Yeah?
You know, I'm gently going to disagree with you there, but only very carefully, and for good reasons, because you are absolutely right about the fact that it's pretty clear that people are being very stressed by lockdown, that domestic violence has gone up, that anxiety and depression has gone up, that suicide has gone up, that addiction and alcoholism has gone up.
That's coming.
But we also know that economic catastrophe actually increases the lifespan of populations, and this is the thing.
What evidence have you got for that?
Oh, there are studies. This is the amazing thing. It sounds
like a contradiction to me.
It is a complete contradiction. But you see, there are studies, and there are studies that have been done years ago. A simple example, following the credit crunch in 2008, the average lifespan of a Greek person went up by 0.8 of a year.
But what's the thinking behind it? What's the rationale?
Well, you see, this is the thing. Back in April, May, June, I was busy saying how disastrous the lockdown and the government's approach to coronavirus was. And then I read this research and I thought, well, I mean, since my interest is for the health of the people generally, I need to look into this. And then I had a simple thought. Unbelievably simple. It's staggering.